Let's speak about Lordstown Motors, baby. What is happening, investors? It is your boy Jack. I am not a financial advisor, and I think everybody knows what's going on with Lordstown at the moment. Everything that's been going on with Hindenburg, and also their first earnings report came out. So what I want to do in today's video is just kind of give my thoughts on everything that I'm seeing unfold in front of me. There was this interview with Steve Burns on Cnbc. I'm sure a lot of you guys will have seen it. It's titled Lordstown Motors CEO responds to allegations from short seller Hindenburg. Jim Cramer also spoke about this directly. It's only a couple of minutes long, but we're going to go through it and I'll give my thoughts on what's being said. We will very briefly touch off of their financial results. There's a lot in here. Some of it I think is important, some of it's not particularly important. And then also this, Lordstown's losses widen amid short seller dispute. Company discloses SEC probe. I want to again speak about what I think about this, just because pretty much I'm not worried about it. I think it was to be expected when a short report like this came out. But anyway, we'll get into that. So my friends, right before we do get into today's video, could I please ask you to hit that juicy like button nice and early? Drop me a comment down below and be honest with me, how do you feel about Lordstown Motors right now? I'm very happy to see the SEC getting involved because it's going to give us shareholders very clear answers. Right now, you know, it's Steve Burns' word against the media's. It's a lot of back and forth. If the SEC is to investigate and everything comes up clean, I think it's actually going to be a good thing in the long term for this company. And it will also be good for us long-term investors to be able to buy at these prices. And please, my friend, if you are indeed new around here, hit that juicy red subscribe button and join the family of investors. Also, if you're interested in joining my private Discord group, that's the first link in the description. In there you get access to all of my buy and sell alerts. There's over 50 private channels in there. There's a huge community of investors speaking stocks every single day. And if you like 2 free stocks on Webull, that's the second link. You just got to sign up, deposit $100, get yourself some free money. So look, we're going to start it off. We're going to watch this together.
The way that you have characterized your pre-orders or reservations in the past, I mean, you called these on CNBC serious orders. Now, people would look at this and say, if you have a company that's not putting down a deposit, that doesn't have a fleet, but basically are collecting letters of interest, are those truly serious orders?
Now, before Steve gets to speak, I just want to give my thoughts on this here, because if you're going to dissect everything that's said absolutely word by word, you're always going to be able to, you know, fit your own narrative. I personally think it's always been extremely clear that these are non-binding pre-orders. It's always been made clear that, you know, the fleets, the people putting in 600 truck orders, 1,400 truck orders, 14,000 truck orders, they haven't put any money forwards. And so I do understand, okay, that you could definitely argue that Steve shouldn't have said these are serious orders. But in the context of pre-orders, they very well may be serious pre-orders. And we haven't seen a lot of the companies who have ordered, you know, speak out in regards to everything that's happened, but we have seen E2, Tim Gross, come out and say that they are very serious in regards to their 14,000 truck order. I think Steve is in a very awkward position, but I don't necessarily think it's through fault of his own. I mean, if you thought that these were legitimate orders, you probably haven't looked at Lordstown Motors for more than 5 minutes. And again, this is something we spoke about in the most recent interview I did with Steve personally. You see, I asked him in that interview the estimated conversion rate of pre-orders to sales, because that is a big talking point in regards to Lordstown Motors. And obviously, I don't know, I can't give an educated guess. Steve did not give us a figure, and you know what, I didn't expect him to, but I said I would ask the question. But he did again relay the fact that he thinks they're serious pre-orders. A lot of them are being signed off by CEOs. And so another negative point that was brought up in regards to here was that, you know, some of them weren't signed off by CEOs. And again, that can be normal as well. But anyway, what we're going to do now is we'll let Steve talk. We'll listen to what Steve has to say.
Well, no, Phil, we've always been very clear, right? These are just what they're intended to be, right? These are non-binding letter intents. They're called pre-orders out in the kind of real world. So
I'll let him continue, but I mean, that's what they are, and that's what they always have been. And again, if you didn't know that these were non-binding pre-orders, like, you probably haven't looked at Lordstown Motors at all. And I mean, one of the top comments here is, lol, this is legendary. I don't think anybody thought we had actual orders, and that's in quotes, like as if to say that people did think they had actual orders. But again, anybody who has spent more than 10 minutes looking at this company should know that they didn't. They don't have a physical product yet. They can't have actual orders.
Always classified them for that, and we have a lot of those pre-orders. I think, you know, we have pre-orders directly from fleets. We have pre-orders from people that sell to fleets, because that's the way fleets buy. Fleets don't buy like, in general, they don't buy like consumers buy. They buy through intermediaries. And so all we've done is gone out, gauge interest, because you got a tool to build something like this in an automated fashion. We're going to build one of these every 6 minutes. We kind of have to know how to tool, and you got to know about a year in front of your building. So that's what everybody uses pre-orders for. They are always, by definition, non-binding, no money down, cancelable. I mean, that's just that's the nature of EV startups trying to gauge interest.
And I think that's very fair, and I think it makes a lot of sense. And also keep in mind that this is an electric pickup truck. He will go on to say that, you know, he wasn't sure what demand would be there because there hasn't been that many options put forward in the past. And this is a way to gauge interest, is through non-binding pre-orders. I mean, we've seen a lot of companies do it, and one that everybody's going to think of is Tesla. And they've done non-binding pre-orders in the past before the product exists. So it's a very easy point to use from the perspective of a short seller. Of course, it's very, very easy to use. It's easy to manipulate these words. And I know that people will think I'm biased because I am an investor and I do like the company, etc. But if you can just take a completely impartial view, I think what Steve has to say makes sense. And do keep in mind, guys, that Hindenburg, obviously, it's in their best interest to get you to sell your shares or to short the stock. Because the lower that Lordstown Motors price goes down, the more money they're going to make. They're not doing it out of the good of their heart. They want to make money. And I mean, that's fair enough. That's what they do. I don't particularly like short sellers. I don't think most investors do. But it is what they do. It's their narrative.
I understand that, Steve, but some people would look at this and say, look, you were far more aggressive in characterizing those pre-orders as true commitments, that you have company XYZ that has said, yeah, sign us up for 5,000 or 6,000. Do you regret the way you characterize those reservations?
And before Steve answers again, I just don't think that's true. As somebody who has followed this company from literally day one, I invested in them the first day they went public via SPAC. I was looking into them before they went public through Workhorse. And I've literally followed everything. I've watched every interview. And I mean, that is just not true. I genuinely think Steve has always made it very clear that these are non-binding pre-orders. And what more can he do?
Well, reservation. Phil, all I can, I don't want.
You can kind of tell, like, he's almost like, yeah, it's obvious what I've said. You can almost feel the frustration just in his bodily movements.
Getting into specifics. All I can tell you is demand is robust. We've never said we had orders. We don't have a product yet. By definition, we can't have orders, right? So when you're early and you're years away from a product, in this case 1 year, and now we're down to 6 months. So now that we have the betas, we are starting to be able to shore some of that up. But the pre-orders did exactly what they were supposed to do, gauge interest. Nobody knew if fleets would buy an electric pickup truck, right? It was completely unknown science, no data around it. So we queried them. We have very robust interest, and that's just what they are. They're letters of interest. You can't do any more of that in this stage. So I don't think anybody thought that we had actual orders, right? That's just not the nature of this business.
And again, that's that. And that closing sentence really does sum it all up for me. I mean, they didn't have orders, and people shouldn't have thought that they did. I don't think people were misled into thinking that these were binding orders. So, I mean, you can of course think what you want. You can form your own thoughts and opinions. I encourage you all to do so. But I really don't see what the big deal is here. And if it all comes back to Hindenburg, if it all comes back to the short report, I think there was some much more pressing issues that need to be spoken about more so than just, should he have made it more clear that these are pre-orders. I think that's a very weak argument to be making right now, because the short report did bring up some points of caution towards actual investors, things that the likes of me and people who actually do their own due diligence would be of interest in hearing about. We do now know Lordstown Motors has, made an entire committee to this. They have also said that until the SEC investigation is done, we won't really be getting any updates on it, and that's fair enough. You can't while the SEC is investigating. I don't know, is it just me who thinks it's a little bit blown out of proportion? Maybe it is just me. Now, the next thing I just want to touch off, it's completely separate, but it is indeed this, is their fourth quarter and full year 2020 results. So again, we don't have a physical product, so we can't expect earnings. So reported full year 2020 net loss of $101 million and cash of $630 million at year end. Warrant exercise in January 2021 resulting in an additional $82 million cash. So, we've a lot of cash. Timeline to start production in September 2021 remains on track. Interest in the Lordstown Endurance all-electric pickup truck remains robust. Now, this is potentially one of the most important things to look at. Announcing expected capital expenditure range for 2021 of $250 million to $275 million to 1. Create plant capacity to be able to produce 60,000 vehicles per year, in response to greater endurance interest than originally expected. So this is another one. I mean, would they really be saying that if they know for a fact that these pre-orders are fictitious? Would they put all of that money into this factory, you know, in order to ramp up production, if they knew for a fact that these orders aren't going to come through? It doesn't make sense whatsoever. 2. Accelerate development of the company's second vehicle. And 3. Build additional tools to insource componentry to create a 5-star crash-rated vehicle and for certain higher supply chain costs related to the Roni. So I mean, we're looking at about $250 million or so in expenditure. We're sitting on about 700 million in cash. So 2021 as of right now looks fine. It looks better than fine. I mean, compared to even some very well established blue chips, they're in a very good cash position. And if production is to start in September, as is anticipated, we're going to be looking even better going into next year. But there, what I thought the most important things to take away from this was, obviously when we're pre-revenue, all we want to look at is what our expenditure targets for the next year is and how much cash we are sitting on. Is it realistic? And then if you are to read between the lines a little bit and you see that they're planning on putting an awful lot of money into, you know, creating this immense plant that's capable of producing 60,000 vehicles a year, why would they do that if these orders are indeed faked? They're the main things I think are worth speaking about right now, my friends, and I do encourage you all, I implore you all to go out there and form your own thoughts and opinions, get the information from numerous sources, but always just be willing to think for yourself at the end of the day, is all I'm trying to say. I think right now it's a matter of waiting for the SEC to finish up their investigation, and then us shareholders will get the answers that we absolutely need. Because if the SEC comes back and, you know, there's been no foul play, there's been nothing along those lines, we have gotten to buy more shares at an extraordinarily cheap price. If the SEC comes back and essentially validates Hindenburg's short report, things are going to be absolutely terrible. So right now it's about deciding whether or not you think the SEC will find any foul play or not, in my personal opinion. I don't plan on selling any of my shares as of right now. I have bought more over the last couple of weeks and the Hindenburg report didn't change anything about that. But anyway, my friends, if you watched this video all the way till the end, you are a true legend and I really do appreciate you being here from the bottom of my heart. Your support means the world to me. If you enjoyed the video, could I please ask you to hit that juicy like button, drop me that comment down below, and please, my friend, subscribe if you're new around here. Again, if you are interested in that private Discord group, that's the first link in the description, and if you want those free stocks on Webull, that's the second link. Anyway guys, I hope you all have a beautiful, blessed day. I'll see you for another video very soon. Peace.